Hello, Year 3. We're all missing you loads at school, but we hope you're keeping safe and looking after each other. I thought that I would read some of the Hodgeheg to you, which is our class reader, okay, by Dick King-Smith. You've got some questions to answer, and hopefully some of you that are struggling to read a little bit at home might just be able to follow along while you're listening to me, a bit like school. Okay, hope it's not too rubbish for you. Okay, Chapter 1. Your Auntie Betty has copped it, said Pa Hedgehog to Ma. Oh no, cried Ma. Where? Just down the road, opposite the newsagents. Bad place to cross that. Everywhere's a bad place to cross nowadays, said Ma. The traffic's terrible. Do you realise, Pa? That's the third this year, and all on my side of the family too. First there was Grandfather, then my second cousin once removed, and now poor old Auntie Betty. They were sitting in a flower bed at their home, the garden of number 5A of a row of semi-detached houses in a suburban street. On the other side of the road was a park, very popular with local hedgehogs on account of the good hunting it offered, as well as worms and slugs and snails, which they could find in their own gardens. There were special attractions in the park. Mice lived under the bandstand, feasting on the crumbs dropped from listeners' sandwiches. Frogs dwelt in the lily pond, and in the ornamental gardens, grass snakes slithered through the shrubbery. All these creatures were regarded as great delicacies by the hedgehogs, and they could never resist the occasional night's sport in the park. But to reach it they had to cross a busy road. Poor old Auntie Betty, said Ma again. It's a hard life, and that's flat. It's a hard death, said Pa sourly, and that's flat too. Talk about squashed. The poor old girl was... Shh, said Ma, at the sound of approaching footsteps. Not in front of the children. As up trotted 4 small figures, exact miniatures of their parents, except that their spines were still greyish rather than brown. 3 of them were little sows, named by Ma, who was fond of flowers, peony, pansy and petunia. Pa had agreed, reluctantly, to these names, but had insisted upon his own choice for the 4th, a little boar. Boys, he said, needed noble-sounding names, and the 4th youngster was therefore called Victor Maximilian St. George, or Max for short. Almost from the moment his eyes had opened, while his prickles were still soft and rubbery, Max had shown promise of being a bright boy, and by now his eyes, his ears and his wits were all as sharp as his spines. What are you talking about, Ma? He said. Nothing, said Ma hastily. You wouldn't be talking about nothing, said Max, or there wouldn't be any point in talking. Don't be cheeky, said Pa, and mind your own business. Well, I suppose it is their business really, Pa, isn't it? Said Ma, or soon will be. They're bound to go exploring outside our garden before long, and we must warn them. You're right, said Pa. And now then, you kids, just listen to me, he said. He proceeded to give his children a long lecture about the problems of road safety for hedgehogs. Max listened carefully. Then he said, Do humans cross the road? I suppose so, said Pa. But they don't get killed. Don't think so, said Pa. Never seen one lying in the road, which I would, if they did. Well then, said Max, how do they get across safely? You tell me, son, you tell me, said Pa. I will, said Max, I will. And that's the end of chapter 1.